Last week was a thriller. Matthew Thunhorst and J.R. Shepard, in an absolute drag race, bumped and banged their way to the checkered flag to close things up at South Boston. But the question is going to be, how will things live up for today's race? We're about to find out here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Southern National Motorsports Park for the 6th race of Season 6 for the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series here on GSRC. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Devin Henry. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. When it comes to this 0.4-mile circuit, there has been a lot of great battles in series history. Let's learn more about it with our GSRC track guide.
Southern National Motorsports Park has a few distinctions. Opening in 1993 as a 4/10-mile oval in Lucama, North Carolina, the NASCAR Modifieds and Southeast Series made stops here regularly, in addition to the weekly racing. The track closed during the recession in 2008, but reopened only a few years later. Since that reopening in 2012, the 17-degree bank turns have seen nearly constant action. Racing occurs throughout the summer, with 16 weeks of that action featuring various late model divisions, street stocks, and Legends machines. Regional Series make stops here, mostly consisting of cars in the super late model and late model varieties, but even some truck series make stops here, adding to the diverse car type that turns laps. The Thanksgiving Classic is one of the premier events at Southern National, with everything from super lates to trucks to bandoleros having races here over a 3-day span. Now it's time to watch some racing in front of 4,500 strong at Southern National.
That was a look at your GSRC track guide once more for Southern National Motorsports Park. Now let's bring my co-announcer for tonight, Devin Henry, as we get ready to go racing at this very tight racetrack. A bowl-like facility. Your thoughts on these cars here at this very tightly compacted racetrack?
Tight is one way to describe this 4/10-mile track, and we were at South Boston last week. It's hard to get much tighter than what we have at South Boston, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the 17 degrees of banking. I don't know if it's the track might be a little wider, but I almost feel like this is a slightly safer version of South Boston. Maybe that's because the straightaways are slightly banked as well. I don't know. I've always felt like this track, you can carry a little bit extra speed. You don't feel quite as stuffed in the corners when you're going in door to door with somebody, but it is still more than happy to pick up those rear tires off the corner, make them do a tap dance, and send you into the inside wall. So still just as dangerous, and I think some drivers might agree it's not any safer than South Boston.
It's been an interesting practice session, to say the very least, but it's an interesting season that's been breaking out so far, where James Lowe is in control of the championship so far by 16 points over Austin Belke. Then it's a tie between Jeffrey Harden and Joseph Zagawa with 161 points to their name, 27 points back for third. Kurt Smith, Justin Morton round out the top 5. In other words, James Lowe looking to carry momentum as he's had his best shot at the title so far this season. Now let's take a look at your race details for tonight as we get ready to go racing once more for 100 laps.
For everyone new to the Bootleg Racing League and the Grand National Series, we are at the halfway point of the season, and for every single one of our 11 races, it is 100 laps, and you are not allowed to change the rubbers on these Arca Menard Series Impalas. With that, you only get one fast repair if something does go wrong. You still don't get fresh tires. Got to go all 100 laps on the same set. And oh yeah, no qualifying. The grid is set by last week's finishing order, with the top 8 from last week being inverted, meaning that your winner's got to come from row number 4.
It's going to be interesting how things play out tonight, especially with it being a very hot racing surface at the moment for final practice for these competitors. 90 degrees Fahrenheit, very, very hot in terms of this time of day in particular. For these types of cars, 81 degrees, your air temp for today's winds generally gusting 5 miles an hour to the south in sim time is approaching 7 p.m. on May the 8th, 2021. So your thoughts on these track conditions as a result here for these competitors tonight, as a lot of them you can see are slipping and sliding here in this practice?
And like I said earlier, on corner exit, your car can get so squirmish because you really want to get back on the accelerator, get that momentum going down the back straightaway, and one foul move of that throttle, and you will mess yourself all up. Look at these eyes here. Look at these eyes. Now, this isn't much like Oxford Plains, but you can still get a little bit caught off guard. So attention to detail here for all these guys is meaningful.
This is Chris Wolfson you're following along with, who is currently middle of the board in practice, just bumped himself up to 13th with a 15 flat. Quickest times in practice so far, 14.824 by Matthew Thunhorst, followed by Shepard, Dean, Lemieux, and Morden so far. And you can just see how much wheel input he's having to put in as well.
And that is going to help you spin the car out, especially late in a run. We've already mentioned how hot it is, how difficult it is to get back on the throttle sometimes. But that's a necessary evil, how much wheel input that you put into this car. And we are going to see guys lose that momentum down these very short straightaways. That turns into a passing area. You need to show the guy in front of you, hey, I am here on your left rear quarter panel. You need to give me room going into this next corner. If you don't get a good run on exit, you cannot force that driver to take the higher lane. You end up having to scoot back, and it all starts on corner entry. Being able to have the car nice and smooth, in control on entry. If you don't have that, there's no way you're getting off the corner straight.
And keep in mind, it was bumping and banging as talked about in the last race between Thunhorst, the current top driver in practice, and second quickest in practice, J.R. Shepard. We see how Shepard is right now and how much he's having to focus on turning the wheel here. He only led one lap in that drag race to the finish.
Such a phenomenal race. Justin Morden doesn't want to do that in tonight's race, so we might see someone have to do that driving like Herbie. But with J.R. Shepard and Matthew Thunhorst in that phenomenal finish last week at South Boston, 0.08 of a second was the difference between J.R. Shepard's 44th win in this series and the 6th different winner all time in the Grand National Series. So two very strong competitors making some history here. But I think, Justin, that all eyes are still going to be on James Lowe. It's been more of an up and down season than I know the driver of the 99 would want it to be. But you got to feel like this is his championship to lose with so many top tier drivers not running full time in this no drop week, 11-week season.
I was about to say, right now 12th in practice at the moment with a 15 flat. But he's been having a solid night overall, had some good speed in the street stock race, had some good positioning in the tour modifieds before getting shuffled to the back due to one of the caution flag periods. And now we're looking to try and close out the night strong here. We'll have to see how the 99 does, as right now he has an opportunity, if he gets a solid points day, Devin, to get himself a full race ahead of the rest of the field, which is all very vital when it comes to the series.
And tonight is a night where you cannot make mistakes. And that's not because of the track, it's not because of the car, it's not because we're at the halfway point in the season. It's because we got 21 cars on track. If something goes wrong and you have to finish back in the pack, that's a major points loss, because sometimes you'll only have maybe 16 guys show up to a race in the series. Well, tonight we have a phenomenal turnout for the series full of short tracks. You can lose 5 more points tonight than you would on a regular night if something goes wrong. So you can't get caught up in someone else's mess, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of messes to clean up tonight at Southern National.
It's definitely going to be a potential attrition-feared race, because keep in mind, you talked about this a little bit, where you essentially are running down the straightaways for about essentially 100, 200 feet or so. Then you're immediately having to turn directly sharp left once more. And when talking to drivers, more so when it comes to running a super late model here, for example, they say it's an art form, because you essentially need to get yourself as close to that little seam you seen there as you can without clipping the apron or shooting too high up the racetrack and corner exit, where it's so easy on throttle to slam into the yellow walls.
And that's where at a track like last week at South Boston, you can kind of cut the exit of the corner off. But you just saw right here with Justin Morden, those left side tires just knit the apron, and that change in banking whipped the car around. Now, obviously, the heat tonight isn't going to help that, but there is really no way to stay away from the apron. And if you touch it, you're going to go around. if you stay too far off the apron, you're going to lose time because this is going to be a bottom-heavy track. I'm curious to see if anyone can use the high side maybe later in the race once the track cools down and have the ability to fend off any type of attacker. But right now, you go into this race, you know you need to be on the inside. You know you cannot touch that apron unless you want to be pointing the wrong direction. So this is going to be quite a balance here going into these opening laps. What can you gain without being forced to lose a boatload of spots due to a very subtle error? They bite you here at Southern National.
As drivers wrap up practice, we'd like to take time to remind you that live timing and scoring is available for tonight's action at GSRC.TV to follow along with your favorite teams and drivers for tonight. Once again, that's GSRC.TV to follow along with tonight's action. But practice is now wrapped up. Thunhorse, the quickest driver in practice, a 14.824. Shepard, a 14.839, followed by Morton's 14.873. Rounded out the top 3. Dean Lemieux rounded out the top 5. But drivers are all set to go. It's time to go racing from Southern National Motorsports Park. Let's take a look at how they'll start for tonight's action. Drivers currently in the midst of rolling their cars to the starting grid. It's Joe Segawa who will be the driver with the invert. We'll start on the pole today with Donnie Moore in second position. Jeffrey Harden and Austin Belke will start in row 2. Austin Belke, of note, running the DuPont 200 years paint scheme tonight. Jeff Gordon ran at one of the Daytona 500s oh so many decades ago. Justin Morton and Matthew Thunhorse will start in row 3, with J.R. Shepard and James Lowe in row 4, rounding out the inversion spots. Kurt Smith and Mike Lemieux round out your top 10 tonight, Devin.
Bruce Pearson and Ryan Seneker make up row number 6, with Brian Dean starting in the 13th position. The boss man, Lowell Jewell, starts in P14. 15th will be Jason Mendo, with Ruben Altice to his outside in row 8. Mike Holloway starts in P17. Steven Spees in 18th. Todd Liston starts in the 19th position. 20th will be Chris Wolfson, and Mike Gallen rounds out our 21-car field here at Southern National Motorsports Park.
And as these drivers make their way around the racetrack, the 21 competitors are just about set to go. Your keys to victory quickly for tonight.
This track can feel so fast. Do not be deceived and try to get back on throttle too early. You still have to be patient at this track. Do not fight with that throttle too hard. You'll find yourself pointed the wrong direction.
Austin Belke looking on board with as Belke tries to get himself all dialed in here from the outside second row. Green flag waves. We're underway from Southern National. Joe Segawa already clear on the bottom line. Already 3 wide for second, though. Justin Morton stuffs it in. Contact as Harden slides up the racetrack. He and Kurt Smith spin as they all stack up at the bottom of the racetrack.
A lot of contact here. Dean is stuck in this. Menda, Bruce Pearson, Mike Holloway, Todd Liston all going to get collected in this. That all starts going 3 wide on lap number 2. Now, Justin Morton does have the run here, and this would be a great opportunity for Morton to get up to the second position here early on in the race. Harden does not give him much room, maybe a car width and a quarter at most. On one hand, maybe shouldn't have gone 3 wide that early in the race. On the other hand, if someone is going to, you probably need to try to give him at least a little bit more room.
8 cars involved overall in this incident, plus, as we see from above. And for the most part, Harden, I think, avoided significant damage, but Kurt Smith, who was involved in secondary contact, involved in the accordion effect right along where the backstretch pit entry would be, as well as some of the barriers to the inside of the racetrack. As a result of that caution flag, Shepard is already up to 4th, Morton is up to 2nd, Seneca is up to 8th, Jewell up to 9th, Altice, Spees, Wolfson, and Allen gaining significant spots too.
And a lot of guys backed up. Kurt Smith falling back a handful of positions, and Harden dropping back to the 15th position. And while he's going to avoid some damage here, what he's not going to avoid is a massive loss of track position after what Justin was looking like a promising day so far throughout the series races.
Absolutely, some clean racing for all the series entering tonight's Grand National Series competition. Earlier tonight, It was J.R. Shepard who took the victory in the street stocks. The modifieds, it was green flag to checkered for Jeffrey Harden. No, he was very happy after that race with the momentum carried into the Grand National cars. And now Harden is among the drivers who is going to be back in 15th position as a result of this caution flag.
So now everyone kind of gets a chance to reset. This is almost like a completely new start of the race because you have the opportunity to just kind of reset. This is a new starting position, if you will.
Austin Belke will start in 5th on this restart. You see from Donnie Moore's back bumper. But it's Joe Segala who will be in control of the field. Green flag's back out. We'll try this again. 93 laps to go from Southern National.
Try it again, and it's working out well for Justin Morton on the outside of the front row, able to stay door to door with Joe Segala. In fact, the outside lane working well as Shepard and Thunhorse seem to be following along here.
Yeah, that top line surprisingly going well, and Segala not so well when the bottom of the racetrack spins out. We're back under yellow as he knocks down the commitment cone in progress of that spin.
Well, this one is a little bit tough. Your pole sitter trying to keep pace with Justin Morton. Looks like might have just had a little bit too much throttle in there coming on corner X. There have been so many drivers in practice. Take a look from high aboard the helicopter cam. Joe Segala in the black number 81 on the inside. Boy, that thing started to kick out on him about midway through the corner.
And why do you feel these drivers are having so many loose moments here this early on? The first one, of course, had some help involved, yes, but that time, no help involved in that spin.
And of course, part of that's just going to be the track conditions with just how hot it is. But Segala, initially I thought that maybe he got back on the gas too hard or too soon. But with how quickly that car seemed to step out with the rear end, he might just went into the corner a little bit too hot. Like I said earlier, the track is a little deceiving with speed. You have the 7 degrees of banking on the straightaway that goes into 17 degrees right here in the corner. And it feels like you can really carry speed and momentum through these corners, which you can, but there is a very fine line of going over the edge here. And that time I think Segala found the edge of corner entry speed, just trying to keep up with Justin Morton. I think that him, along with us and many others in the field, were surprised at just how dominant that outside lane was. The 3 drivers who started on the outside will now line up 1, 2, 3 on this next restart.
Indeed, with Thunhorse moving to the bottom line, Shepard outside front row with Justin Morton race lead. Keep in mind that there was one penalty from the last race and involves the driver you're on board with for a dive bomb for avoidable contact for Matthew Thunhorse, given a warning as a result of that incident over at South Boston. So keep that in mind for how he attacked some of these drivers potentially in this race. 1 to go signal to reset your field. It is Morton and Shepard, Thunhorse and Moore, Belke and Lowe, Seneca and Jewell in the inversion spots. Spies is already up to 9th. Rivadontes rounds out the top 10 for this restart. See how Morton does this time. Now in control of the field at the bottom of the racetrack. Green flag is out. We're back underway.
Pretty decent jump here for the 9. J.R. Shepard attempting to fight back on the outside, able to grab onto that right rear quarter panel, trying to peek his nose back up there. Meanwhile, how about Austin Belke just kind of patiently awaiting back in the 5th position, now in a battle with Donnie Moore.
Trouble in the corner. Kurt Smith, Jeffrey Harden, and Joe Segala all stack up. Caution flag finally comes out. For the 3rd time, we are under yellow as a result of contact with a check-up effect. 23 machine of Brian Dean, part of the trigger in 3 and 4.
Well, this one seems a little different than the incidents that we started with in this race. Kurt Smith and the Mark Martin Xerox throwback checked up, and you saw that rear end get bounced into the air by the 44 behind him as debris flies across turn number 4. That time the checkup, someone was not ready, and sometimes with these tall rear bumpers of these Arca Menards machines, it is a little difficult to see if someone does check up, but boy, that was quite the impact.
Big time impact indeed. Ends up bringing back the caution flag period once more for our drivers. Now, one of the storylines coming into this week is it was announced prior to last week's competitions that there was a bit of adjustment to some of the schedules for 2021 Season 3's Bootleg Racing League calendar, where the Tour Modified Series moves into the primetime slot on Friday, with the Dirt Street Stock Series still being on GSRC, the Super Late Model Series being after that still. The series that will take a slot, Devin, will be the Pro Truck Series that's been competing on Friday nights, moves to a Saturday night slot, with the Late Model Series taking place as well right before then for 40 laps.
And with this move, I think that Saturday becomes a little bit simpler because I feel like the late models, the trucks, and the Jarko Menards machines communicate better together than you do have that Tour Modified. The Tour Modified drives so differently, Justin, than those other two stock cars, and now you get 3 stock cars in a row here on Saturday nights, and these drivers who do run 3 races in a single night will have a little bit of an extra advantage to have some experience on that track in a stock car. Obviously, they run slightly different, but race pace, side-by-side action, you get a taste of that in a car with fenders for 3 races in a row.
Gonna be very intriguing how things play out in terms of that scheduling for these respective drivers. But right now, they're focused on one thing, the restart. 79 to go. Off and away we go in the small restart box. Morton with a great launch. Shepard, though, keeps it outside. Donnie Moore trying to keep it side by side. Meanwhile, for third position, can't do so.
And Shepard still able to fight back on the outside of Justin Morton as shade has engulfed this racetrack. Starting to single file out all the way back to about the 7th position. That's just behind James Lowe, who's been making his way through the field. But we have about 2 by 2, 5 rows deep right now from 8th on back.
Shepard is ducked down to the bottom line as well, and you mentioned that side-by-side. Seneca is among the drivers trying to break through in that grouping right behind this battle for the race lead. Just keep an eye on that as well as these top 3 as Morton continues to try and defend up the top. One driver up into the wall, turns 3 and 4. It was the 45 of Jason Menda who got shot up the racetrack.
Even with a little bit of shade engulfing the track, drivers still having issues. Track temperature down to 86 degrees, but that black Havoline number 45, it's a little bit too much throttle there on entry. A good save, though, to not destroy that race car.
And here's that temperature, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, as Austin Belke has had to duck down to the pit lane. And in quick fashion, he slammed the wall down the back straightaway. And now he is into the pit lane, as Seneca, meanwhile, tries to swing on the high side. This is the battle going on for the top 10.
Brian Dean able to move into 9th. Seneca now in trouble. Chris Wolfson trying to take away this 10th position. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania middle school principal trying to work his way through the field.
Dodged by Belke, who is trying to roll down on the apron back onto the racetrack, has lost a couple laps as a result of his issue with the wall. As now that double wide grouping has now gone to single file as Dean scrapes the wall in front of these drivers, all sorts of out of shape. The 23 slides up the racetrack. Chris Wolfson takes the spot.
This time coming to just 70 laps to go. We have a little bit of a green spurt here. The front of the pack, it's the top 3 still kind of pulling away from the field, but then you get kind of far back to these guys. There are still plenty of positions to be gained, and Brian Dean at this point is in defense mode because I think everybody would love to rail around the inside of the 23 here.
Especially with that back end damage, isn't affecting him too much though at the moment. The downside is this battle is already 5 seconds behind your race leader. Speaking of the race leader, Shepard providing the pressure now on Morton with 68 to go. Morton clips the wall. Here comes Shepard to the inside.
Shepard was already better on exit, being able to stay low, now fighting for that top spot. Morton in the red and white number 9. Shepard in the gray and blue number 98. Does not have the momentum, though. Still kind of hanging out on that quarter panel, though. Will not allow the 9 to get back down.
I think I can see a smile on his face right now with this battle because this is a great opportunity to take away that lead and force Morton to burn up his tires a little bit here. Morton going a little bit deeper on the brakes. Shepard able to let it roll in the center right along that preferred groove as these tires wear out and the rubber builds up.
Morton kind of taking his time here. He can't spend too much time stuck on the outside fending off the 98. We saw a couple weeks ago he was in this position, used up a large handful of tire and ended up hurting him late in the race, coming to complete lap number 36. I love the position of Matthew Thunhorse here, just stalking these two, waiting to see what happens.
Of the opportunity to save tires as he rides on behind, and keep in mind, these drivers, once they reach traffic, is going to be very intriguing with it being such a bottom-dominant racetrack. Morton, though, with the better pull once again down the straightaway, still can't get fully clear for the corners, but Shepard still seems to be trying as hard as he can, at least, to keep this attack up.
I don't know if it's just how weird these Impala bodies are, or maybe it is the driver who runs so many disciplines. It feels like to me on exit that 9 car's got that rear end kind of tucked out a little bit, swerving maybe a smidge, and then gets that awesome bite off corner exit, able to have so much momentum. The 98 cannot seem to get away, and even though the 9 using up tires, having to use that outside, get on the brakes, that 98 having to turn into the corner so much harder, having to get off the corner lower than usual. You gotta wonder if J.R. Shepard might eventually go, you know what, I'm just gonna tuck in behind and go back to just being patient here. I don't know if this is really helping either driver, with Thunhorse just relaxing behind them.
If anything, Thunhorse just looking like he's ready to pounce. He's now peeking to the outside of Shepard now. Can't make it stick, gets a little bit loose on the bumps. As Morton just about got himself clear and appears to be clear. No, Shepard gasses it up to keep it side by side. Now it forces him side by side with Thunhorse. Thunhorse ducks back in and is back to single file after that major slide.
And this group right here, 4 seconds ahead of the 4th place driver, your championship leader, James Lowe. All 3 of these drivers not full-time this season, so James Lowe might be going conservative here, going, you know what, man, I'm not making up 4 seconds right now. I'm going to wait for this caution here as Todd Liston goes around. Maybe I'll have fresher tires than everyone else when we go back green here in a few laps.
And that brings us back to caution, as it's Mike Lemieux who gets into the back of Liston. Spins around the 87 machine, the Sim Racer coin back machine, brings us under caution here once more as we approach halfway.
Take a look back on the GSRC replay machine. And with these Arca Menard Series Impalas, it don't take much to turn someone around. They do not like to be touched. They much rather prefer some social distancing. Liston in the black number 87. You see the 40 really just kind of toe in a little bit. Minor contact there, but on 17-degree banking with these machines, that's going to whip the guy in front of you right around every time.
Now makes things very interesting on how drivers will recover. And this may have been one of the best things for Shepard, because that tire slide may have really heated up the tires. That's a chance to cool them right back down.
In a way, it's damage control, really, because when you are in a race at a short track like this, once you slide those tires and you heat them up, there's no getting them back down.
Yes.
You're done. You're stuck. You just got to work with what you got. Now you get an opportunity. The only thing that'd make this better, Justin, is if this track had grass. Just kind of roll through there real quick, cool them down. No harm, no foul.
We'll get to that another day. Let's put it that way on the grass part, but you are right about the tire slide, absolutely. That is something that's been a talking point. It's just a matter, though, of how these drivers have worked in these tires. Keep in mind, James Lowe has quietly been running in 4th position as this has all been going on.
And how about looking at your ticker on the left side of your screen? Steven Spees quietly flying through the field. Started 18th, now will start 3rd row inside. The guy who I've seen so much in the Dirt Street Stock Series on Friday nights here on GSRC. He's had some strong showings, but this right here, if he can hold on to this for the second half of the race, this is one impressive running for the driver, the number 55.
Well, 51 laps to go when the restart comes into play this time by, where it's Morton in control of the field, followed by Shepard, Thunhorse, Lowe, Spees and Jewell, Altis and Dean, Wolfson and Allen, the top 10. Mike Allen, keep in mind, started chunking on the field 21st to 10th. Green flag is out, and another great launch from Shepard on the outside. He tries to swing it hard of the 98 machine, tries to pinch down the 9 car as they go side by side down the back straightaway.
How about this? The 98 actually gained quite a good little bit of bite on the outside lane. door to door. The 98 will lead that lap. Can he get enough momentum to clear the 9, though?
Justin Morton gets a major slide. Shepard nearly hits the wall. Can Shepard get himself fully clear for the race lead? Just about does down the front straightaway with 49 laps to go. Moves Shepard to the point as he moves to the bottom.
Well, dang, you try so hard for so many laps on the inside, and all you need to do is go to the outside for 2 laps, and it works out. Well, you know what? We'll take it. Trouble on the back straightaway. Brian Dean gets tagged, and now he's looking the wrong direction. We'll restack him again, but this time J.R. Shepard gonna have the better position, I think.
Remember what I talked about on how it's so easy off the corner exits to hit those yellow walls? Dean ended up doing that coming out of turn 2 and actually just about rode the top of the wall as he came down the racetrack.
See him almost tap the 11 of Altice this lap, and then down the back straightaway. You let the car kind of float back up the track, and that time there, that was more than float. That was a massive impact. He almost looked like Justin Morton in practice.
Huge hit means time to go to the pit lane for Dean for the first time for a fast repair. And that moves Speeds, by the way, with this caution flag up to 4th. He's able to pass by James Lowe. It's a plus 14 now for Speeds.
I gotta wonder, do you want to be on the outside here? We just saw J.R. Shepard battle his way past the 9. You know JR is going to get a good restart here. He is so good at mixing up the starts and not letting anyone else really tag onto him. Here, the 55, he might actually be in a good spot here, second row outside on this restart. That's so long as Justin Morton can hang in there with the 98 here once we go back green.
Going to be really interesting in terms of how things play out. Keep in mind, one of the drivers going to be starting towards the back of this field. You may have seen was the wave around Austin Belke. He is back on the lead lap after his issue under green flag conditions. And he came into tonight, as talked about, second in the point standings. He needs to claw his way back to this pack.
I could be wrong, but I think that's the paint scheme I always use in NASCAR Thunder 04. I don't think it was 06. I think that this was a paint scheme I commonly used in Thunder 04.
Yep, with the Rick Mears shirt as well.
Good find by our producer, John Ambrose. How about that? Rick Mears, he's got that shirt on. Casey Mears actually lives not too far away from me now in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Didn't know that when it comes to Mears, but we're just about set to go for the restart. Green flag is out, following along with Chris Wolfson in the heart of the pack. This is in the battle for the inversion spot.
Look at the eyes working about as hard as the hands are in that orange number 17. And you just see what's in front of him. A little bit of a shake there by Ruben Altice. You have to react to that. He really looks calm right now, Wolfson does, in the cockpit.
Trouble right behind him. Mike Allen into the wall. Caution is back out. It's Allen and Harden who collide with hard contact that destroys the front end of Allen's car.
Take a look back here. Mike Allen in the red and white number 59. Miller screen on the inside. He floats up into, I believe that was Altice there, and that's another case of you let the car float up, and hey, not everyone has the luxury of running trips, Justin, such as myself, and so sometimes if you don't have that spatial awareness necessarily, or just one little mistake off the corner, and you don't see the guy on your outside, yeah, there's contact on the way.
And by the way, just to clarify, you're not talking about a trip somewhere or a trip to the grocery store. We're talking about triple monitors here, correct?
I don't get those either, but yeah.
Oh.
I don't get any trips. Maybe except for the grocery store. That's about it.
Either way, 39 laps to go, and it continues to be intriguing how this is going to play out for this battle for the race lead. And with how we've seen things fare out, how do you think drivers like Morton or Thunhorst are going to try and make this move, knowing how important it is to get a great launch, but also how difficult it is to get the proper run?
Well, Thunhorst has just been studying. He's been watching the 9 and the 98 duke it out for the majority of this race, the 6 different winner all time in the Bootleg Racing League Grand National Series, looking for win number 2 to go back to back. And he's just jotting down notes. He's going to have to fend off Steven Speeds on the outside. That last restart, the 9 got a good enough restart on the outside that Steven Speeds was able to tag along and kind of give Thunhorst a run for his money. But I really like that the position that the 8 car is in right now. He really hasn't had to overwork his car at any point of this race. And he's just been watching, what are the guys in front of me doing? And maybe I can steal that, or maybe there's a vulnerability that I can take advantage of here in the final 35 laps of this race.
Coming up to 36 to go with the restart this time. With Shepard, Morton, Thunhorse, Spees, Lowe, Jewel, Altice, Wolfson, the top 8. Shout out to the boss man, having a solid night inside that top 8 so far. But green flag's back out. Another great launch for Shepard. Morton already shuffled back quickly to second, side by side for third as Thunhorse tries to power his way in the bottom.
Couldn't have worked out too much better for Steven Spees, losing touch with the rear bumper though of Matt Thunhorse. Sliding back, Thunhorse not going to be clear though, and still has to ride that inside lane. It makes it work a little bit harder, having to turn the car, have more wheel input, able to finally clear the 55 instead of sights forward.
Sights right now set on Justin Morton, who is still holding on to that second position after the restart. Thunhorse a little bit quicker on the corner exit, sliding his back tires though as the caution is out, and it's more drivers towards the backs. Ryan Seneca, Brian Dean, Joe Sagawa, several others stacking up this time as it started off with Sagawa for this caution flag.
This is actually pretty wild. This starts with the 45 going into extreme drift mode. The 81 checks up, Liston gets into the rear end, and then someone gets into the rear end of him, and then someone gets into the rear end of him, and that's the literal accordion effect. Watch this black number 45 go into 1. A little too low, a little too hot. Tire marks all across 1 and 2. Zagalas are going, woo, hold up, and no one else behind him saw the whoa up, and yeah, that's the result.
And keep in mind with these cars, it can be difficult to whoa up in time as well.
Arca brakes. That is, I mean, on one hand, that is a joke, as in you don't stop. On the other hand, these cars that are now actually marketed as ARCA cars, back in the day, these cars didn't have the greatest brakes on them to begin with.
Indeed, and now as we come up to 30 laps to go, it becomes a talking point of who's going to be able to get the top inversion spot. Mike Holloway is in that position now with the damaged front end. Holloway did not use a fast repair from the accordion effect in the first laps. He is up to 8th position in front of Wolfson as a result of that caution flag.
And we see Jeffrey Harden right now in the 12th position. He won the modified race just a while ago. Started towards the front of this race, got taken 3 wide on lap number 2, had to slide all the way back to the field. For Harden, if he can make up just those 4 more spots, you know, I'm pretty sure that he's hoping that he could have been able to contend for a top 5 this race. Might not happen tonight, but he can get himself a great starting position next week if he can hang in there, pick off a few more spots here with less than 30 to go.
Coming to the restart this time by Shepard, Horton, Thunhorse, Spees, the top 4 still. Low. Altice jumped up to 6th prior to the caution flag. Jewel was jumped with a 7th. Hallways up to 8th, as mentioned. Wolfson to 9th. Jason Mendo recovering to the top 10 after being in the back earlier from incidents. Green flag's back out. Back and away is Shepard. Another great launch, and James Lowe spun around. Caution is out as the points leader goes to the inside wall.
Something happened. That car stopped. We'll have to get an onboard view because you'll see the red 99 hits the gas and then stops. I'm not sure what happened here.
Take a listen on board here. You've seen it visually too. As soon as he got to the end of the gears, jammed right into a missed shift.
I think he must have shifted into 4th. I mean, his RPMs went down.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Yes. And when it's like that, usually it's a sign that it's a missed shift or you're stuck in neutral with how it looked there.
And this is why I'm a fan of just running the shift pads on my wheel. I don't go out and buy any sort of hand shifter because I know that's going to be me every restart.
And this race, as a result here, though, could really shake up the point standings. Potentially, if James Lowe can't recover, he does have the faster pair available, but now Austin Belke has a lot more pressure towards his way in 12th spot to try and gain spots, especially with James Lowe back in 20th.
Well, you look at the top 5 in points: James Lowe, Austin Belke, Jeffrey Harden, Joe Segala, Kurt Smith. Every single one of them have had their massive problems tonight. This is a great day for Justin Morton right now.
Yeah, this is the exact scenario Justin Morton potentially may have needed to get himself back into the conversation, possibly, at the championship. And this is where we've seen throughout the series, one bad race or 2 bad races is enough to claw your way back in. If our competitors are the ones getting the bad races, if it's you getting the bad race, that goes the other way around. Either way, 22 laps to go. Coming to the green flag this time. Shepard off and away, this time a bit of tire spin. Morton able to get a better launch, but trying to get himself side by side to the quarter panel, not able to keep it side by side for the corner exit.
And Speeds in that black 55 and 4th had a great acceleration, but had to check up because the 9 didn't go when he thought he would. And that lost the 55 all of his momentum. Matthew Thunhorst now still looking to the inside. More trouble in turn 2. Pearson, Belke, Segala, and Smith all around. There's 3 of your top 5 in points in another incident.
And I believe this may have started with door-to-door contact, possibly, or tire-to-door contact between Pearson and Harden. It ends up stacking them up once again like Legos in turns 1 and 2. Harden able to get away from it. Segala and company not so much.
Segala has to take a tow. This will be a detrimental night for the points at the halfway point for the driver, the number 81. You see the contact right towards the middle of your screen. Pearson, nothing he could do. Nothing that Belke or Segala could do but just hang around for the ride. And this is important as we ride on board here. Just watch how quick this commences with Joe Segala. It looks fine until it's not.
And with the blown motor, gonna cost him a ton of time with the tow. He had already been to the pit lane at least once in this race and has already lost several laps. And this race is now looking like it's leaning towards Shepard's direction with how he's been handling these restarts, especially with the small restart box. He's been able to time it up perfectly each time.
Exactly, and even Steven Spees predicted when the 98 was going to go correctly there, but because the 9 was not up to speed yet, the 55 couldn't even put up a fight with Thunhorst in that green number 8 machine. So it takes a lot to get right for anyone outside that top 2 to get a good jump, because it's so difficult as that second place driver, especially if you don't have a spotter in the iRacing platform for you. You have to rely on your eyes looking out of the corner of the cockpit to see when is the 98 going to hit the throttle down. If you jump the restart, that's a penalty. So you have to be carefully watching. It's not like NASCAR when the spotters will say, go, go, go. You have to find out for yourself in the cockpit, when is this car going? I can't go till he goes. Oh, I missed it.
Horse is quietly been watching along these two in 3rd position. Spees, same case from 4th position. Hope to have a good view of how this launch will go this time. Green flag's out, and Shepard with a poor launch this time. Morton keeps it side by side, deeper on the brakes. Trying to keep it hard on the outside off the corner. It's a drag race down the back.
Shepard passed for the lead earlier in this race on the outside. Can Justin Morton do the same now that he's in the outside lane? The 98 will lead that time by, though. Door to door here through 1 and 2.
And Shepard slips and slides coming off of turn 2. Morton giving some space for turn 3 and 4 this time. Slides up the racetrack for 13 to go. At the stripe, it was Morton with the lead lap by 11 1/1000ths of a second. Thunhorst has made his way to the bottom with Spees. Still, Shepard keeping it very hard to the bottom of the racetrack, planted right up against that seam.
Track temperature still 85 degrees. Trevor Wilson goes around Brian Dean in the wall as well. And that worked out just right for Justin Morton. Timing and scoring has him just a nose ahead of Shepard for the lead.
And for Wolfson, this started all the way down the back straightaway potentially here, Devin, as we'll take a look at the replay. He hit the wall down the middle of the backstretch.
And that is just painful because you saw the near incident behind them, was able to avoid that, got into the wall. And I know it looks like that was a simple mistake, but what happens when you hit that wall in the back straightaway? If you don't get the car settled in time for the corner, which is nearly impossible if you're still trying to maintain pace, that car is still tap dancing going into the corner, and that's a very difficult car to save when you don't have it set into the corner smoothly.
With us coming to 9 to go this time, we're at 10 to go right now. This is going to be the most important restart coming up because this could be one of the final ones of this race. And remember, when Morton was in control of the field, Devin, J.R. Shepherd times it up perfectly as well, or near perfectly, I should say, to be able to keep it side by side before. That's how we got the lead the first time.
And even to that point, Shepherd, I know it was earlier in the race, and we are on 90 lap old tires now, but Shepherd just looked faster on the outside than Justin Morton was just a few moments ago. So Justin Morton needs to have been taking notes of the 98's restarts, saw what worked, and try to mix up the 98 here when we go back green. If the 98 is only half a car length behind, I feel like Shepherd is in the position to still make the pass before we get to the checkered flag.
As these drivers get ready for what could be one of the final restarts of the race, let's reset. It's Morton and Shepherd, Dunhorst and Spies, Jewell and Altice, Hallway, and now Jason Menda is in the final inversion spot. Hardin's recovered to 9th. Lemieux is in 10th. Liston Pearson. Lowe is in 13th. 14th, Seneca Belke is in 15th on his recovery drive. Dean, Smith, Wolfson round up the lead lap cars. 18 drivers on the lead lap. 6 laps to go. The green flag flies. Morton with an early launch this time. Off and away we go. Who's going to take the checker from Southern National?
Gorgeous, downright gorgeous restart by the number 9. Can't get enough momentum though off of 2, and the 98 able to fight back on the outside. 5 to go this time by as they bottle up behind them.
And who got it, I believe, we'll have to see, as it was a drag race to the stripe. Let's take a look first of all here as how close it was. It appeared it might have been Shepherd by a nose as the caution came out right behind him in the heart of the pack.
We're going to take a look here. This all depends on when the caution flag was thrown. You see him bottle up, and somewhere between there and the line is when the caution gets thrown. The 98 may have just had a nose. No green-white checkers in the Bootleg Racing League. This wreck right here, a small tap because the 11 had to check up, might have ended the race, and I think J.R. Shepherd is going to sneak away with one.
It was close, but now it appears indeed Shepherd did get the scoring loop in his favor over Morton. 2 laps to go, and they are still bringing up smoke on the front straightaway.
And it looks like someone got together under caution. But nonetheless, we had that ridiculous finish last week. And while that isn't going to be how we end the race again, because it was going to end under caution, so it's going to be like a couple 10th gap. I mean, 2 weeks in a row, the race, Justin, was more than likely decided by thousandths of a second, it looks like.
The race is now official. Last lap, final lap from Southern National. J.R. Shepherd will get the chance to celebrate once more. It came down to the edge of a nose with the scoring loops, but in the end, it is Shepherd for the 4th time this season who will come through turns 3 and 4 to secure another victory in the BRL's Grand National Series. J.R. Shepherd, your winner from Southern National Motorsports Park.
And I think the win for this race goes to the guy who was the most dominant on the outside. He had the opportunity to restart on the outside, and that restart in the 2nd position No one else could run that line like the 98 and made it count when it mattered most, even though they didn't quite know it yet.
Already Morton Thunhorse giving the congratulations there. You've seen a Shepard will get the chance to celebrate down the front straightaway. Now, with that note, take a quick break. Post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching the BRL's Grand National Series from the virtual Southern National Motorsports Park. Welcome back to GSRC's coverage of the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series from the virtual Southern National Motorsports Park, where it was J.R. Shepard who took the victory under caution tonight to come away the victory. Justin Morton comes home in second, Matthew Thunhorst in third position, with Steven Spies from 18th to 4th position. Lowell Jewell rounded out the top 5 tonight with Mike Holloway, Jeffrey Harden, and Todd Liston rounding out the inversion spots, Liston jumping up to 8th with the last lap incidents. James Lowe recovered to 9th after spinning down the front straightaway after a missed shift, with Bruce Pearson rounding out your top 10 tonight.
Ryan Seneker brings it home in the 11th position, followed by Austin Belkey. Mike Lemieux finishes in 13th with Brian Dean in 14th. Kurt Smith, a tough day for him, involved in multiple incidents, has to settle for the 15th spot. And catastrophe cornerback here for everyone else: Chris Wilson, Jason Menda, Ruben Altice, Joe Segala, Mike Allen, and Donnie Moore round out your 21-car field here at Southern National Motorsports Park.
J.R. Shepard once more getting the chance to celebrate. He now joins us in the broadcast booth. Your 4th victory this season, J.R. How are you feeling after this one?
That was a tough race just because of the cautions. I didn't think it was ever going to be over with, but yeah, Justin ran in an extremely great race, and basically it just came down to who got the best restart while in second place, and was just barely ahead of him when the caution came out there at the end. So if it hadn't come out, I don't know if I could have fully made the pass on the outside there. So it was going to be close.
How difficult overall was it to pass? Because it seemed like in a lot of cases, it was the matter of trying to set up the momentum and either the bottom or the top.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that difficult to get a run on somebody, but once you got to their inside, if they ran a good line and didn't make any mistakes, the inside line would just get loose after a couple of laps going into the corner. So you're really trying to drive the car straight and keep off the guy on the outside, and it just made it really, really difficult. So frustrating when the race is like that. But I mean, that's the way the track is and the way these cars are. So I hope it put on good racing, at least for everybody to watch.
Now, the next race goes to a historical circuit now in Myrtle Beach. Your thoughts on going over there?
I really, really enjoy that track. It's really wore out surface. Have to pay attention to your tires extremely carefully compared to what we normally do. So yeah, look forward to that. It's a driver's track for sure, but probably the best driver there in the past has been Justin. He just hasn't had the win, so he's going to be one that you gotta fight with.
Who do you want to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, just thanks to the Bootleg Racing League for allowing us to do this on Fridays and Saturday nights, and giving us a place to race, and my team Different Path Motorsports. Austin had a little difficult night tonight, but he'll recover with that. He's coming on strong, so looking forward to what he can do, and just thanks to you guys at GSRC.
Congratulations once more on the victory tonight, JR.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
J.R. Shepard, your race winner tonight. Justin Morton standing by with Devin Henry.
Well, Justin, you had a great restart there. You had the momentum. You had the line. But J.R. Shepard, the only guy in the field who was really able to utilize that outside lane. I know you guys didn't know you were racing to the finish right there, but what else did you need to keep that 98 behind you tonight?
Yeah, I think I needed to have that restart I had, the second to last one, on the last one. I knew that outside was great for the restarts. Yeah, it kind of just sucks that the cautions played such a big role in that race. I know I was part of one of them, and I apologize to all the guys that got taken out in that. Definitely wasn't intentional or anything.
Well, regardless, a lot of guys have bad luck throughout the night, and believe it or not, you're actually fourth in the points now. And with that, you also have one of the highest average finishes. You're only 30 points behind your leader, James Lowe. I don't know if this was the intention coming into this season, but do you think now maybe you'd be able to jump up and try to win a championship?
It would be great if everything falls in line for that. James would have to continue having this really bad streak of races he's been having, which really sucks. Seeing another competitor have that happen. Austin's had a bad streak, and I can't remember who would be third ahead of me, but yeah, if it falls in, I would be happy to take it.
Yeah, James Lowe in first, Belkey 19 points behind him in second. Jeffrey Harden actually 5 points ahead of you for the third position, but it turns into a good points day. I know you wanted that virtual trophy, though, but who do you have to thank for being on the podium once more here, this time at Southern National Motorsports Park?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Dull Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for this amazing paint, Lowell for running this great league, everybody who runs in it, runs clean and competitive. It's truly a great league. And thank you guys for doing the broadcast every week.
Our pleasure. A couple of weeks of some really incredible finishes, even though this one will kind of go down as a caution finish. Still a great drag race the past couple of weeks, and Justin, congratulations on another great finish.
Thank you.
Justin Morton, your second place finisher. Maybe not quite as exciting as last week, but Matt Thunhorst still brings it home on the podium, Justin.
And he now joins us in the broadcast booth. And Matt, first things first, how are you feeling about your run tonight?
If I had to use a term to describe it, just kind of frustrating, because I feel like, watching JR and Justin race there, I feel like if I could have had the laps to do it, I could have made something of it and maybe gotten mixed up in there. But it just seemed like once I kind of got to third and I was watching those two, race hard, I was just sitting there kind of licking my chops. And there was one or two times I made a run on Justin. I feel like if I could have gotten to that front row, I could have had a shot at this thing to win it. But, frustrated on that point. But, just kept our nose clean tonight, in all the races. So positive there. Pretty happy about that,
What do you feel you need to do differently to try and be able to get an opportunity to make a pass on one of them, you feel like?
I mean, I feel like with my performance tonight, I did a good job. I mean, there were a couple points I still need to work on throttle management a little bit more, but just the problem was I didn't get a chance. And aside from just kind of doing what the league kind of frowns upon, just trying to dive it in there and just, almost make a low percentage move, I pretty much didn't get an opportunity to make much, because as soon as especially there towards the end, I'd fend off Steven and be like, okay, let's get ready to go. And then it's in caution again. So it was just one of those races where it's kind of taken out of your hands, so you just kind of roll with the punches. So it is what it is. I mean, we still got a good, performance and finish out of the night. So, I mean, not really too upset. Just, it's kind of like maybe frustrating is the wrong word, but just maybe more like I kind of got teased for a good bit of the race there tonight. So still a positive night through and through, though.
Now, the next race goes to Myrtle Beach. Your thoughts on going to that racetrack?
I do enjoy racing at Myrtle. Haven't done it a whole lot, but I definitely enjoy kind of the characteristics and the things that make Myrtle unique as a short track versus others. And so looking forward to that one. And, hopefully we can have some more green running there and put on a good show for you all and the fans. And, hopefully maybe not get a W, but, be there and kind of the group there for the win and have a good performance there,
Indeed. Anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, just want to thank the league, Bootleg Racing, for putting on the show and had a lot of fun tonight, and you all for the broadcast. And just thanks so much for what you all do. So appreciate it much.
Congratulations on the run.
Thank you, Justin.
Matt Dunhorst coming home in third. I'd like to thank him, Justin Morton, and J.R. Shepard for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on GSRC. Now, Devin, your final thoughts on this one, as attrition seemed to be the name of the game in part, but in the end, it's a drag race coming to the caution flag that determines things.
Yeah, an interesting way to end that with the track becoming borderline two groove, I guess. The outside lane ends up prevailing, and you even heard Justin Morton say that he would have rather have had that outside lane. Morton actually had the fastest lap of this race back on lap 25. And congratulations to your GSRC hard charger. Didn't get to talk with us today. He was one spot short. Steven Spies from 18th to 4th, keeping that car clean. It paid dividends.
Indeed, it did tonight. But on that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action once more from Southern National. We'd also like to thank the Bootleg Racing League for organizing this exciting series. Thanks to the companies provide the software and hardware for a broadcast listed on screen. Additional thanks to Jude Luana providing some wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more for great work. Thanks to the team today in Devin and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.storypy.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As talked about with our competitors, the next race is scheduled for Myrtle Beach Speedway on Saturday, May the 15th. Be sure to tune in. Green flag scheduled for approximately 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Coverage will start at 8:50 p.m. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on screen, so be sure to check those out and mark them down in your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.